Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Book Club. We are so happy to have you. Tonight, Amy and I, Chelsea, are going to be doing something a little special. We're talking about two books this time by Simone Soltani. Now, the first one in the series that we're going to talk about, that one's Crossed the Line. This one's been out for a while, so hopefully you guys have read it. And the second one is Ride With Me. This one is new. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, there's going to be some spoilers, but maybe some of you have already read it. But to be honest, I think you'll want to read the book when we're done anyways. So grab a drink, a snack, and get comfy. We have a lot to talk about. So to start us off, I am just going to do like a little synopsis, trying and being spoiler free as much as I can. So in Cross the Line, this is the first book. It starts off with our main character, Willow. She's a recent college graduate and she's trying to find a job. And then our main character, who's the man, is Dev. He is an F1 driver. He's experienced a very embarrassing PR crisis, and their mutual connection is Oakley, Willow's brother. And from there, sparks fly. Honestly, pretty early on in the book, I really enjoy it because she ends up becoming his social media assistant to try and help him out of like this PR crisis. And there's a lot of back and forth throughout the book. Because they have a lot of very strong feelings, but they just are in a position where it's not smart for them to have those feelings. And there's also a lot of macaroons mentioned in this book, which I appreciated because it kind of leads into Ride With Me, which is book 2 that we're going to talk about. And this one picks up at the end of like a dramatic ending of Cross the Line, which, by the way, had my mouth drop. When I read the like prologue and I was like, wait a damn minute. I was like, didn't I just read this?
Like, this feels familiar.
Like, it was so good how she picked it up from the ending of that part of the story, because now we are following Thomas. He's another F1 driver who's like another driver in another team. It's on the same world. He's the most hated driver right now on the grid because of this video that went viral that we'll talk about. And then the main character, the woman, is called Stella, which I love that name, by the way. That's one of my favorite names. She owns a macaroon shop, which is where we got all these macaroons from in the first book. But there's a lot of macaroon mentioned. I you know what's funny? I actually just got a car air freshener today that's lavender macaroon. It's so good. Besides the fact, her life is being flipped upside down, which is very dramatic. Like, I was just like, this sucks. But she has a one night stand in Vegas. It leads to a fake marriage. There's a lot of back and forth again, which, by the way, Simone writes so well because you're like, stop it, like, please be together. But anyways, they have a love story that literally left also my mouth dropping, and I was like literally laughing out loud. Like, if you look at my notes, it says LMFAO I don't know how many times, because I was just struck by some of the shit that she was writing. I was like, amazing storytelling.
Yes, I am on the exact same page as Chelsea. I feel like both books had me like jaw on the floor, squealing far too many times. We were lucky enough to receive the physical copies of Cross the Line, which came out back in September of 2023. We got e-versions of Ride With Me, which dropped back in May of this year, so not that long.
Which, not gonna lie, me and Melissa bought physical copies.
I will be going out and hunting down a physical copy because I need. But like, the amount of times my highlighted notes just of Ride With Me are me just saying I'm screaming repeatedly. Do not judge me, but like, y'all,
it was
this
so
book
well
had
written.
me squealing.
It was so well written.
It was everything I needed and then some.
I will say, like, if I was to check the vibe of it, like the genre, it's definitely new adult contemporary. It has a lot of sports related drama, and I would say like romance involved in it. A lot of humor, which I so much appreciated because it wasn't like corny at all to me. It was actually very entertaining. And then a lot of deep emotional moments because she does touch on like some personal aspects in like the characters' lives about like their depression and their anxiety and things like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, I really like how she writes this out.
I would add on to that by saying that, like, I feel like both of these books are fantastic in the sense of, like, they can span both the sports romance girly world and just like the regular romance girlies alike. Like Cross the Line is really good if you like more of a slower burn. If you
Friendship,
are
romance.
Yeah, if you are somebody who likes your spice up front, or like is cool with spice a little earlier in the book, then like Ride With Me is definitely
Ride
going to
With
be
Me.
a more your style. If you are not, if you're considering getting Ride With Me, at least consider this
Be pre-warned. This is your warning.
PSA that you're going to get your spice much earlier in the book if you read Cross the Line. I read Cross the Line and then immediately went into Ride With Me, and I was so shocked at just like
my mouth dropped.
Difference in style, like not in a bad way, but I just like wasn't prepared.
There's like the specific scene and in the casino. Okay, we'll talk about it, but the way that Crossed the Line was so much more like a fluffy romance of like friendship, longing, yearning kind of romance, and then you go into Cross the Line, you're like, oh yeah, this is a radar movie. Because the way it starts off, there was no holding back. There was no holding back. She was a woman who knew what she wanted, and Willow was more like a cute girl getting started in life.
Fact. I also think it helps to know that I think they're different in, like, there's the age ranges of the characters are slightly different. So that I think also kind of helps add a layer of complexity to
I think it really does. Actually, yeah, if you put it like that, it really does, because Willow's like this new graduate kind of girl, went to school, a little more like mommy and daddy, much more close relationship. And Willow comes to like, I'm sorry, not Willow. Stella comes to like from a more strict household, very like independent girly, owns her own businesses, owns her own franchise, very much more like.
She's boss bitch. They're different. The
completely different
characters
people
are at very different phases in life, which I think for the girls in our podcast, I think it was kind of fun because we're all at different stages in our life. We're all different ages. So I feel like some people are going to relate more to Willow. Some people might relate more to Stella in certain things. I think the age difference between the characters, it really shows in just like how Simone wrote the books, like just like vibe wise in general.
No, I definitely appreciate how she like changes it from their age range. But I mean, another like thing she talked about that, probably pre-warning, there is some toxic family pressure in both books. There's also some racism in book 1. There's this guy Buck who we'll talk about that I did not like love to hate him. A lot of gaslighting, okay? Did not enjoy that. And trauma from accidents, which was like, I think very well written. Like realistically, that's how I expect someone would handle a trauma from that event.
I feel like if we're going to do like PSA's triggers, yeah, we kind of hinted at it, but Ride With Me is definitely much spicier. The spice happens way sooner in the book than I think a lot of other books. If you're cool with like spice in your first, like, I don't know, 5 chapters,
yeah,
you'll be fine. If you don't really love that, proceed with caution at least. I feel like if I'm going to compare the spice levels, I feel like Cross the Line was more like a mild to medium kind of spice. I feel like Ride With Me was definitely more like medium to hot.
I would give Cross the Line a 2.5 spice, and I would give Ride With Me like a 4.
Yeah. Yes. I love that Chelsea just managed to translate what I meant.
Like,
I love it.
I understand exactly what point they're at in those levels that you put. Because it's well written, like it's not corny, which I do appreciate. Because I don't like reading books sometimes that like try and put spice, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of icky. Hers was like well written. I actually read it, to be completely honest. Sometimes I kind of look over and skim when there's like spicy scenes. Even Fourth Wing, like that's not my thing. I just don't really care for it. And for
Valid.
this one, I was reading it. I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
I mean, I've read some wild stuff, and Ride With Me had me blushing sometimes. I was like, okay.
That's so
Like,
funny.
I have to give Simone massive credit for the way that she is able to write the chemistry
Mm-hmm.
between her female main characters and her male main characters. Oh my god, she does chemistry like nobody else, I feel like. I really like the way she writes their chemistry. It feels real.
Another thing I really love that she touches on with her characters is POC because almost all of them are completely different. There's African American, like that she's half white and half black, which I think is Willow and
Mm-hmm.
Stella, or is Stella? I can't remember.
I don't remember if they mentioned Stella's dad.
I don't remember if they mentioned Stella's dad either, but I know Willow's half and half, and Dev is
Yeah.
also half Indian, half white. And then we have the British guy when you
Thomas
bring
is just
in
white.
Thomas. But it's fun because you get to see like literally everyone, a little bit of
Yeah.
everything and how their family dynamics are and stuff. Like I absolutely love the theme of like families in these books. Like they're all very family oriented. And like Dev with the wedding and his sister and the dancing, because they do like the traditional Indian wedding in the storyline, which I also appreciate that Simone looked like she did a lot of research into, was super fun to read. Like that was so entertaining for me.
I feel like if I'm gonna give initial reactions, like just immediately after finishing both books, I feel like Cross the Line was cute and had me feeling really giddy constantly while reading it, and definitely felt very giddy and like warm and fuzzy when I finished it. My strongest reaction to Ride With Me was really just like how amazingly well written the chemistry between Stella and Thomas was, because like the banter that they had, like it really just felt like real. Like I could envision it all in my head, and I'm like, none of this feels like clunky or awkward.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just
It's well
it
spaced
read
out.
really nice.
And I also appreciate the dating that she does. She's also very accurate to the F1 like actual calendar, which I know we've talked about with past books. Like some authors don't actually do that, some do, some kind of skew away from F1 and just try to write romance based around it. And even with the writing style of like the racing and stuff and the accident and all that, I feel like it was so well written and how she like how you said it, like created the storyline. But it was, I think my initial reaction was for Cross the Line was very YA, and then Ride With Me was more like adult romance, like almost a little bit
Yeah.
Bridgerton,
Yeah.
but very fun.
There you go.
But I think major themes, like besides family, because I really think family was such a major theme in all the books, there's definitely ambition in almost every single character, which I feel like is a very obvious trait that you want to see in Formula One characters because sometimes they write these characters almost a little bit too sweet. And I feel
Yeah.
like these are very much like more I found them more realistic, and I really enjoyed how she wrote the second chances and the love bonding being really built on like respect, because both of them, even with Ride With Me, how like spicy it was very much respectful in how they were handling everything and how they would go into like their spice scenes, and it was just
I
like,
mean, the
oh,
man said, I don't play with consent, and that had me swooning.
it was weird
Because,
though, because
like,
like was this supposed to be like a dom sub for like a minute, and I was like
um,
confused.
you, I refuse to believe that it has to be canon. It has to be canon that Stella and Thomas are like wicked kinky. Like,
No,
I'm
for sure.
sorry. Like, you cannot tell
There
me
were certain
otherwise.
scenes that I was like, hmm,
Yeah, I was like,
like clocked.
yeah, but that one moment where he's like, I don't play about this. Like, you either consent or this doesn't happen. Like,
Yeah.
I need like clear consent, because she just hit him with a head nod, and I'm like, good
No, he
man.
needs
Like,
more. Yes.
yeah, I'm like, I like the respect is just greatly appreciated.
Yeah. I really like how she writes the male characters because they're not too fluffy, but they're also very like conscious of being a respectful person.
They're not like giving like brute like energy.
I
Like
just want to
they're
have sex. Oh my god.
yeah. Like there's substance to these men, which is just nice.
I agree.
I feel like the both female main characters, both Willow and Stella, kind of went through this really interesting journey of like self-love and like self-understanding that
Yeah.
like they're worthy of the kind of love that their men were showing them, which I really liked getting to kind of see that unfold.
I think it's something that a lot of girls can relate to, where, especially in Stella's case, you find like you can lose yourself in relationships, and when you leave them, it's very hard to refine where you were at before like the breakup or before you even started dating this guy. And seeing her try to find herself while also trying to like create this relationship with Thomas and not get lost in that one too, to me it was super healthy. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, like that's the right way to do it. Like you should continue to focusing on yourself, but like don't close doors either that are opening for you, because then you're just going to close yourself to what could be your future husband, and which in the book maybe does happen. I don't know, we're going to talk about it.
I feel like so many of the authors that we've read recently for book club have really just like killed it on the side character
Yeah.
part of things. I am a sucker for a really good side character. I don't know what it is, but it just speaks to my soul on a whole different level. Like I'm like, if you could give me a killer book, but if the side characters are not it, I immediately like kind of lose interest. I know that sounds bad, but like
No, it doesn't.
I need side
It's like a
characters
TV
that
show.
like help me keep interest and like keep things going and give me a little something.
No, I completely get it, because it's like when you watch a movie, like the main character has to have their female best friend that's being funny and corny on the side to like relieve whatever weird tensions going on in the storyline. And like when we write our notes, I always have out written out like who stood out, who annoyed you, who surprised you. So like I can keep in mind these characters. And I love this question, specifically this book series, because yes, the other books we've read have had amazing characters, but this one, the characters are like so invested into the storyline, I guess, if that makes sense. Because like yes, I love Willow and Dev, but for me that book, the friend group was like so much more attention grabbing sometimes, because it's literally a childhood friendship between Chava, Mark, Oakley, and Dev. And Willow's like always there, and then you get to hear these stories about how they grew up and the elephant that she keeps in her room. And I think it was an elephant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ellie the elephant.
Ellie the elephant, a very creative name. So it's like it's so cute for me in the first story reading the storyline, because I'm like, I want to see Chava, Mark, and Oakley's story, especially Oakley's story, since he had a crush on Dev's sister, who that door's closed.
That door is so closed.
Yeah.
I am right there with Chelsea on this. I mean, as we literally did, we both love a good side character. I really felt like I needed a Chava and Mark bonus scene.
Oh, that would have been
One
so good.
for each. I feel like I want like I like
Especially Mark.
yes, especially Mark, but also Chava. Like I want both of their POVs of the moment they both realized that there was something there with Dave and Mark, or Dave and Willow, because I feel like Chava definitely was the one who noticed it first, and then obviously Mark. But I just like I really want I that's like the one thing that I'm like, it just feel like I'm missing, is I would have loved a bonus chapter POV of both of them.
Specifically with you saying that, what pops into my mind, like the first thing I would want to see Mark's point of view of is that stretching scene where they're
With
like,
Willow?
yeah, where he's like kind of telling Willow like, I accept what you guys are, like it is what it is, blah blah. Like I would want to see what either led up to that or happened right after, if like let's say he went to talk to Chava, because I feel like that was such a turning point in the dynamic of how they were going to move forward.
Absolutely.
Because yeah, okay, Oakley didn't like it. Yeah, but that's the brother. That's always going to happen. But like if your friends don't like it, okay, now there's a little more like
you've got more to fight
scared,
against.
a little more worried.
Yeah.
But for me, Dev and Willow were very cute. Like you'll notice in the second book, it's spicier off the bat, but the first one's very much giving wholesome, and I like how their dynamic, it like translates from this really cute childhood friendship to like she had a crush on him when they were kids to okay, no, I'm actually in love with you as an adult. Like let's find something.
It's the fact that they both actually had like crushes on each other as little kids for me. If I'm
It was
being
so
really honest, like that's adorable. That's just so cute. I
and like
honestly got
I was just gonna say like they went their separate ways and still like
found each other again. It like they kind of felt like the definition of like if it's meant to be, it'll be.
mm-hmm.
And it was just really adorable. Honestly, for me, it was the way that Dave Anderson constantly had me swooning throughout the entire first book. I don't know what it was about him, but he just like made me swoon. He was adorable. I was so obsessed. But I also really, really, really loved Willow. Maybe it's because I'm a marketing and communications girly and like we stick together. Maybe it's just because she's a complete and utter sweetheart. I couldn't tell you, but I just like I found myself liking both characters, which sometimes can be kind of hard for a book. Sometimes I find myself liking the female, but not liking the male main character or the other way around. But I really like equally liked both characters.
I will say, you're so right because I really did relate to Willow when she was like coming out of graduation. She doesn't even know what field she's like going to go in. She has this idea that she's going to end up being like in an office working in a sports agency or something. And it's like, it's so true. You literally never know where you're going to end up in your career unless you just try something and say F it, which is what she ends up doing with Dev because so many people graduate and they're like, I don't know what the hell to do. Like, I have this piece of paper now and supposedly I'm going to get more money. What do I do now?
Hi, I'm the girl with a degree in public relations who's literally never actually worked in PR. I went right into to traditional communications and marketing. I literally never even actually used my degree for its intended purpose. So like I very much so just like felt like I related to Willow in some ways on a very much so a soul level of it's like, oh yeah, I remember graduating college and being like, oh crap, I now need to get a job in this field that is so competitive.
I remember when I graduated, I worked in marketing for Congress and like for the city council, and I remember like when you're like graduating you like think that's it, like this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. No, girl. I like my younger self would probably laugh and I was like, "No, you work in sewing actually. Politics was annoying. You didn't like going home at 10 p.m. at night."
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
And I feel like you see that with Willow where she comes to like this realization of like the career she had in mind is not what she wants anymore, and it's so fun seeing her break out into like who she's supposed to be for her career, especially because like throughout the story she has to deal with people like Buck, who I hate that man. Okay, he was so racist towards Dev for being half Indian, and it made no sense considering throughout the story how much of a better driver Dev is compared to the nepo baby son who's on the team, Buck's son. And honestly, having Willow and Dev be POC, I think was a great decision to me because like so many stories don't bring in these type of main characters and issues. It's always more focused on the romance of everything, which is completely valid. But it was fun seeing how Simone wrote it in so like well. Like you don't even realize that's happening sometimes. You're like, oh yeah, this totally makes sense to the stories. It's not like this dramatic side quest happening.
Sadly, I feel like Buck's character is almost like too accurate to the world of motorsports. But I also really almost like in a way appreciate the character because it just adds another level to the realness of it all. I do very much so think having two POC main characters who are also really compelling just adds so much more substance and like intrigue, and like it makes it a much more compelling read, especially because they also get the happily ever after that they both deserve,
Yes.
which
I
is, I
I
mean, it's just nice to see.
I hate when you're reading a book sometime. I hate when you're reading a book sometimes and like there's these third arc dramas.
I hate a
You
third
know what I'm
act
talking about.
breakup. I
Right. And I
fucking
kind of
hate it.
appreciate how that you don't really feel that in these stories. Like they never really break up. They never really go through these dramatic fights. Like these men are very much willing to fight for their girl. And it's so refreshing because yes, don't give me the dramatic men that are like, "Fine, I'm leaving." No, stop it.
I feel like everybody, at least, I don't care what you read in your on your TBR, but I feel like everybody needs the really good balance of the happily ever after books and the books with the third act breakup. But like,
Yeah.
you need to be in the right headspace for the third act breakup. If you're not prepped or ready for it, you're gonna be destroyed. And I feel like Simone's books are fantastic when you're like, I just need something that is going to make me squeal and kick my
Happy.
feet and giggle and like make me happy by the time I'm done reading it. And like, you're
Like the
not trying to
happy
cry.
ending. No, yeah, like I'm not trying to cry. Like, well, I do like happy cry a little bit sometimes. It was so cute
Yeah.
sometimes. But like
Happy cry
the
is different.
scene, I don't want to say where they get married in case someone reads it because I feel like that's such a spoiler. But okay, where they get married, Stella ends up having like such a major part in it. And I feel like that was such a good tie-in for the second book because when
So
I tell you
cute.
my mouth kept dropping as we realized the connections from the first book, because okay, for the second book I feel like we're much more focused on the main couple and just them. There's not really a lot of drama going on in the career. Like there is, but there isn't. He has like a storyline happening, but it's not as prevalent as I feel like Dev was because he has
Yeah.
literally like in this,
In
I don't know,
crisis.
more right. But I just found myself so much more invested in the main character than the side characters in Ride
Yes.
With Me. Because Thomas, he's the main male character. He's a little misunderstood, you know, but he's like so emotionally mature throughout this whole story. And Stella is very fierce, a little wounded, but so layered, like, you know, giving me Shrek like onions, okay, has a lot of layers. And I relate to her because it's just so hard at times about losing yourself in a relationship and trying to refine yourself while allowing yourself grace to like do new things in life and not get scared. But they're enemies to lovers to fake married to forever dynamic. Like every chapter was so chaotic and it makes you want to root for them the whole time, but you're also like, get your shit together. And I feel like in the mode, like wanting to slap them with a newspaper because I'm like, you guys need to just stay married.
Actually, really liked that we got so much of Stella and Thomas as like a duo from the jump. Was it a little chaotic? Absolutely. Did I love it? Damn right I did. I went into the book totally blind. I didn't look at any marketing for it. And I specifically remember running so very, very quickly to go text Mel mid read because I was freaking out because I was absolutely unequivocally unprepared for the drunken married in Vegas trope. I was wheezing. I think I sent her a voice note like freaking out. I was like, I didn't see this coming. Are you kidding me? I think I also sent a very similar text when we finally also are given Stella's last name and you realize who she is. I'm like, oh my god, how did I not see that coming? I loved the like drunken married in Vegas trope. Normally it's something that I would avoid, but I kind of feel like Stella and Thomas have kind of converted me to at least try more books of that trope. It's just normally not what I would go for, but I found myself obsessed with it with this book at least.
I will definitely say their dynamic was so funny to like read sometimes because Stella is so much into like withholding herself Like, she's like, I don't want this. I don't want this. This isn't the right thing to do. This is not the plan. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing, blah, blah. And the whole time you just want to like reach through and be like, no, baby, shut up. Shut up. Like, you're doing so many great things. There is a part of the book where I feel like I think it was like midway where she like really starts to accept it and like she moves in with him to London and stuff. And that was like a really big turning point where I was like, oh, this is where I'm going to be 100% invested, because if they don't have a happy ever after this, like, I'm done. The only thing is, in the process of her moving to London, we meet Figgy. Look, Figgy, like, I understand her character. She's like a childhood BFF to Thomas. I think she was a neighbor, if I'm not wrong, or like a family friend. And she thinks that she's in love with him. And I say think because she's really not. And, you know, by the end of it, like, you really did like her. Like, you love to hate her sometimes. But she's okay. She kind of figures out by the end, like, where she is in Thomas's life. And it's a little sad because this is where some of the family manipulation comes in. Like, you could tell her family, like, put in her head that this is supposed to be how it ends, because Thomas explains it. Like, in her life, she sees her future is getting married and being comfortable. Anything beyond that was too much work. But I do think that Thomas's whole family is like, I really, really like them. Except one of them. I didn't like one of the brothers. But I really like his sisters, and I really like the storyline. Yeah, his sister is the fashion designer. I thought that was so cool. I feel like that was very fitting that, like, the black sheep of the family that didn't get into sports would be into fashion. And I do actually really like the storyline with his brother, because even though his brother's like a jerk off, it's a very well written storyline. Because I just feel like the concept of brothers competing for something that they both really want, and one winning out and him being younger and all this, like, it would definitely lead to the animosity they have, or at least the one-sided animosity that one has, because at the end of the day, Thomas really, like, he doesn't have hatred towards his brother. He's like, he doesn't like me, so I'm just not going to deal with it. And I feel like that's kind of sad to see, but it's very well written in how they interact with one another. I do like how it gets like, I do wish we had known how it got resolved. It's never really explained. It's more like a sneak peek. This is how it got resolved. The sister handled it. The mom was wild. I respect how she went about it, because she's like, well, if they're going to play me, I'm going to play them harder. And she made them go through a wedding. But to be honest, their slow build romance is so much full of, like, self-awareness, mutual respect, that I think the fake marriage plot, which is also one I don't really go for, was so well done. Because I was like, okay, yeah, this is where it needs to end. No fake marriage where they divorce at the end. I didn't want to read that.
I feel like we have to take a hot second, though, to talk about Stella's people. Because, like, some of them are truly something else. The one character in Stella's world, there's two that I really dislike. But, like, the first one that we meet that I'm just like, oh, no. I do not like you. Like, did not like her from the jump. Chapter 1 is Daphne, who I think is her is a cousin.
Yeah, it's a cousin.
I have never had a side character have me hating them so fast as, like, the minute Daphne was there. Like, I disliked Daphne until pretty much the last, like, 5 chapters of the
I think
book.
it was the last 5 chapters. It was like the last 5 or 3 that, like,
yeah,
the
like, it was
twist
like
comes
the
out.
very tail end of the book. All of a sudden, I'm like, okay, maybe I don't dislike you, because, like, she came off from the jump super judgy. I was not a fan at all.
She gives me vibes of someone that has very high standards for themselves and expects everyone else around them to have the same exact very posh high standards for themselves. And when people don't hit that, she's like, trash.
Yes, absolutely. But I will say, at least Stella had 2 very redeeming friends, and that is Mika and Janelle. Janelle is also family. I just kind of loved that they were both very much so the ride or die kind of friends or family energy. It just was really, like, seeing strong female friendships in books is just really nice. Where, like, they're not always being catty. It was really, really, really nice. But we cannot talk about Stella without talking about the chaos. Honestly, scratch that. The shit show, pardon my French, that is Etienne, her ex-fiance, who also happens to be French. That was not a joke that I meant to make. Do we love to see a man who will come crawling back after royally fucking up? Yeah, kinda. But this man was just like so slimy. I laughed watching him come crawling back simply because his whole world was falling apart because everybody realized his true colors.
There's like a specific actor I imagine in my head when I think of him, and I can't remember his name right now, but he just in my head would be like this scrawny French man that I don't understand why she would be with black hair as well. Anyways,
yeah, I pictured like your him. Stereotypical like slimy dark-haired Frenchman.
Yeah. But I didn't like how, because I guess if you think about it, she did have like that little crisis with her video that went viral. Yeah. And I didn't like how people in the storyline seemed like they were getting upset at her for having this breakdown. It's like, hey, she's gonna say I hate macaroons because they're French and he's French. Like, if I was a fan, even I would make that connection.
It's like, how are people jumping on her, making her the bad guy when she's very clearly emotional and like her fiance left her at the altar? That's wild work.
Like literally wedding day.
Absolutely wild
I would crash
work.
out.
I would have facts. That would have been like the most valid crash out of all crash outs is being left at the altar on your wedding day. And the fact that he's French, like, absolutely. Make the dig. It's completely warranted.
I really appreciate that you saw her character grow from like the first chapter to the last chapter, because I feel like in the first chapter that Stella would have gone back to him.
Absolutely.
And the Stella that you see by the end of the book is very much like, no, I've found my worth and it is way above your pay grade. Like, he was not ever going to meet it. And I love that we end up finding out why he even came crawling back in the first place, because she never asked. Like, she was so above him at that point that she didn't even think to ask him, well, why are you on your knees right now for me? And I'm so glad that we ended up kind of getting I feel like that, actually, now I'm saying this out loud, that plot was very well closed and finished.
It also was the moment that everyone goes, oh, I don't hate Daphne.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone that's reading it, but just know that Daphne, you can hate her throughout the whole book, but don't be surprised when at the end of the book your mouth drops and you're like, damn.
The redemption arc of all redemption arcs, y'all.
And you don't even really see it coming. Like, there really is no hint at what's happening behind the scenes. Like, this is something throughout the book that's happening, and then when you get to that finish line, when you find out everything, you're just like, what the? Like, I literally texted Melissa, and I'm like, there's no way that I have been hating this character this whole story, and now I'm here like, you're the reason for like the story.
I had recorded myself while reading, because my reaction was probably hilarious, because I think I literally said, wait, what the fuck? And like went back 2 pages and reread, because I was like, I clearly must be imagining something. I truly thought I was losing my mind.
I'm like trying to find the text I sent.
If you couldn't tell, Mel is
let me tell you something. And I literally misspelled, let me tell you something, because that's how, like, my fingers were shaking. I'm like, I am laughing right now because I'm supposed to hate this person. And you mean to tell me that this is the reason everything happened? She was scheming? I wouldn't have a book without her? Like, low-key, you wouldn't. Like, this character is the reason the story happens. When you find out, when you read this story, and you're gonna want to read this story just because, like, one, well written, but two, all the plot twist that happens within. Because there was another plot twist with Arlo. Do you remember that? Okay, that was another one that caught me off guard. Because I was just like, so it was him. Like,
yeah.
In Dev's storyline, not Dev, in Thomas's storyline, the reason he's like the most hated man is because he was super pissed. And imagine seeing Max Verstappen super pissed in the room and like getting caught on camera and cursing someone out. That's exactly what happened. He was super pissed. He almost got hit. Imagine Max and George fighting because George hit Max and like broke his car. And it was like that kind of
Like in the heat
Angry
of the
response?
moment,
Yeah.
like it
And
truly
like he
was
very much
not.
regretted saying it.
Yeah, like they were not words said with intent, but the video was leaked weeks after the event occurred, after a really bad crash, and
After
it
the
just
crash.
like made everything look even worse, especially with the timing of the video drop. It was just messy as all hell.
Like, there are actually a lot of plots going on throughout these two stories, but I will say Simone writes them out really well, that I didn't feel like there was anything closed off. The only thing that I would have liked more information on, and granted the stories are pretty long as it is, like amazingly long. I'm not complaining. Don't even think about that. But I wish we would have found out a little more into how like Dev I'm sorry, not Dev, Thomas was able to keep the money for his sponsorship, because
Mm-hmm.
the way that we find out is just like it's kept. Like, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
What? I'm
Well,
gonna worry.
his it sounded like, I think it was his sister-in-law.
Edith.
No. Huh? Yeah. It
Edith. Yeah.
sounds like Edith somehow, well, really it was
I
Stella
thought
and
blackmailed.
Edith got to the girls got together and the girlies girlied real hard.
I just feel
I
like
I
that
actually
family
wonder.
dynamic was so weird.
My theory with how Thomas got to keep the sponsorship was because Edith and Stella got together and Edith liked Stella. I think Stella may have contributed financially to the sponsorship, and it's joint, technically, Stella's money
Well,
and
she is
the
a
company
COO.
money. Um yeah, I
You know
really
what?
want to
I'm
know.
not gonna lie to you. You know what I thought was going to happen? I thought
Edith
Stella
become
was going to
CEO.
become a sponsor. No, I thought Stella was going to become his sponsor. Like, oh,
I
don't worry
thought she
about
might
losing
have
them.
done
I'll
it too.
sponsor you.
Yeah.
Because she has the franchise worldwide now, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, this bitch has
Yeah.
money. Like, she can sponsor him.
Oh yeah,
But that
I
didn't
mean,
happen.
yeah. That's why that's partly what my theory is. I'm like, I wonder if she contributed some finance to.
Oh, Stella.
Yeah, I think
Oh, I
it's a
could see that.
combination of the money that Edith had, like Edith set aside in the business, but I think it's also some of Stella's money. I think it's a combination of both of Thomas's, like the company had to cut back on sponsorship, but in order to keep Thomas at the full amount, it's part of that the original half of that original sponsorship, and then Stella made up the other half to keep the full value. That's
I
my theory,
honestly,
at least.
I wouldn't be surprised because she does open up more locations throughout the
Mm-hmm.
story. So one of them being very close to home. So it is possible that maybe like that contract helped a little
I
something.
I don't know.
Macaroons
It's
also are not
just
cheap.
my really wild theory. I'd love to know what actually, like, what Simone envisions is like how it happened, but
Well, there's gonna be a book 3.
I'm intrigued to see if book 3 is a whole different set of characters.
It is. I'm assuming that it's gonna be like this, where it's like another spin-off. And I wonder if maybe we'll see that seep in again. Because we did see some of the characters from the first one seep into this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I don't think I have it like mentioned in my notes, but by the end of the book, like Thomas doesn't want to stay with the team he's at. So I feel like that will be somehow thrown into the third book too.
Ooh, we could get his teammate.
Mm-hmm.
I like that
Because
a
I feel like
lot.
something's gonna stay connected. That or one of the drivers from the accident. Because
Yep, that was my
I
thought too.
yeah, I feel like that might be related. Because there was 4 drivers in that accident, and what are the odds that the 2 of the drivers are 2 of the books? Just saying.
I can't wait. I can't wait. But I feel like if anybody is like really needing another reason to like read any of these books, I wish I had more like lines or scenes from Cross the Line, but I had the physical copy, and I am somebody who refuses to mark up my physical copies. It makes me physically cringe to think about like annotating a physical book. Like, I just can't do it. But
I mean, I have plenty in my notes for Cross the Line.
gimme,
I just didn't write them
because I
down.
got the mother load of some good ones
Oh my
from
god, no. Okay.
Ride With Me.
Some of my favorite scenes from Cross the Line, I'm not gonna lie to you, were like the really corny romantic scenes. Like, okay, page 138. I got this shit written down. Page 138. Because I also don't write in my books. This was the elephant scene. Like, this had my heart go, this is the most cutest shit in the world. He basically finds this little elephant that he got for her, like, at a fair when they were super little. Which, by the way, imagine, like, marrying the man who got you a little elephant when you're, like, 5 at the fair. Anyways, they are, like,
Squealing.
in her room. She's editing photos for his social media, and he finds the elephant. And he's like, oh, Ellie. He's like, you must have been really obsessed with me forever. And then, before she could even respond, he's like, good thing it's mutual. Sir. Sir?
Excuse me?
In the book, even she's like God. She's like, what? And honestly, it's like things like that. Like, I'm just like, this is so cute. Like, okay, page 257. This guy got her macaroons from Paris because the one by her, like, wasn't open or something.
Because they closed the one in New York. And he flew them in from Paris when they were like
In
in
Belgium.
Europe. Or so, yeah, they were like in Europe.
They're
for a
at
race.
Belgium before the summer break. I wrote this down. They're at Belgium before the summer break. It's the last race, and she's joining him. And he decided to gift her with effing macaroons waiting for her. He flew these bitches from Paris. So, of
As
course,
I
she
said,
kisses
this
him.
man had me friggin' swooning.
I just thought it was so, so good. Like, the way that their romance is written out, I'm just like,
Beautiful.
and honestly, there's again so many plots in the story too. But the plot between Oakley, Dev, and his sister, like the way that communication happens and the way that it ends up, like I understand Oakley's point of view. And if you read this book,
Yes.
I feel like you will probably understand Oakley's point of view too. Because I was like, oh, I'd probably be pissed for that reason too. Not for the reason you thought, but for that one.
Yeah. Absolutely valid reaction. Absolutely valid.
I remember like reading the book. I didn't write down the quote, but he's literally telling them like, why would I care about that? Like, you're grown.
Yeah.
Don't do this
It's-
thing.
Yeah. It's the fact that you did this.
But it's just there's so many good quotes, so many good writing. Ride
Oh
With
my
Me
God.
even better, as you know.
Oh my God. Honestly, I have to start off with an absolute friggin' banger from like very early on in the book. Because it was the way, like, I knew this book was gonna be fire just simply based off of this description of a side character. And this is how Simone described Daphne. She looks like a black Stepford wife whose hobbies include witchcraft and eating the souls of children. And if she didn't annoy the ever-loving shit out of me, I'd adore her vibe.
Which is so funny because the way the character described, not what I expect.
The way she initially, like, kind of, makes herself known, like, verbally
Her
with
personality.
dialogue was, like, that was not the description I was expecting. Because she also describes her as having, like, a really stiff bob. And I'm like,
Right. I
black
imagined
Stepford
her
wife
like
with a really stiff bob that doesn't even move. I'm like, what?
what am I
really-
looking at?
I need to actually deep dive the internet because I really hope someone used some AI and like made like a version of Daphne, because I need to see what she's supposed to look, because
I'm Googling it.
I just need it. Then we also have the strip club scene. I'm not gonna go into wild detail. If and when you read Ride With Me and you get to the strip club scene, I want your reaction in our goddamn DMs. I want the reaction in the DMs because I was losing it. I think all of us collectively lost it. Mel and I were texting each other and I was like, this strip club scene? She's like, girl, I was unwell.
My mouth was dropping. Like, I was literally like, again, like, you read it and you almost forget that they're in the like, they're in public.
I was like,
and you forget
I
with
think
the characters that they're in public.
yeah, I think I literally texted Mel and I said, I've read some wild stuff, but even this has me blushing. I was just like flabbergasted. It's not even that crazy spicy.
It's
but
not, but it's the way it's written.
It was everything. It's a work of art. I'm obsessed.
And the build-up.
The build-up was fire. I also just love the way Simone really sometimes brings in little things just simply, I feel like, to make you laugh. Because I was really not ready for the minute I read the lines of Stella saying, "We got married by Black Elvis." Because I can just envision it. And it just makes me want to laugh.
The thing is, I've seen Black Elvis in Vegas. It's very accurate.
It can be done. I loved that it was actually realistic, and like it was really cute, but I also feel like we cannot mention their Vegas marriage without talking about the fact that I loved how creative she got with a wedding ring.
Yes.
Because
I thought that was so funny. I was like, there's no way, bro.
Like Thomas said, obviously I couldn't get you a real ring on such short notice, and she runs so many bakeries, so he picked the one baked good with a hole in the middle. And he gave her a donut ring.
And I love that they wake up in the morning sticky, and her first thought was, did we have weird sex? And it's like, no, we're clothed. Like, no, we're completely clothed. We're fine.
You didn't even make it that far.
You didn't even get it to that.
You got detoured. And
the way that they left their hotel on a mission, and that mission went completely upside down. And the way that the person that witnessed everything is this character that we're like,
literally literally Daphne is the plot twist of all goddamn plot twists. I love it. It's like Daphne as a character is both a plot twist and a character, like a absolute character arc in one. Like I don't understand.
I think, like, because of how these characters are written and how the storyline is, this kind of book could be anyone's favorite book. Like, they don't have to be an F1 fan. I mean, absolutely. There are some moments in there where, like, the world building is so solid for fans. Like, it's something that we can actually vibe with, and we know it's realistic. But I also love that the books include things like grid talk and silly season references and qualifying stress and race weekend chaos. Like, there's so much that an F1 fan can love, but it's also so not intertwined into like the writing where you don't have to know F1 to be a fan of the book, especially Ride With Me.
Yeah, I feel like Cross the Line is definitely more like the motorsport girlies kind of romance. If you want a motorsport based romance,
right.
Ride With Me, definitely. I feel like it could be anybody, whether you want a sports romance and you like sports romance, whether you've never done a sports romance, if you just want a romance book that's like cute and kind of easy and like probably take you, depending on how quick you read, probably like a few days.
Like, I will say Ride With Me, I don't know, like, there was no specific reason, but I read it a lot faster than Cross the Line.
I devoured Ride With Me.
Same.
Absolutely devoured that book. I don't know what it was about it, but I just like ate it the hell up.
I think it was just like such a great work of fiction because like you can't even compare it to anyone in F1. Like, there's no Lando or Daniel or George. Like, it's so creative that while you're reading it that you're so invested in these made up characters that the story just kind of flew right by. Because literally when I finished the book, I was like, fuck, I want to read more. Like, where's the third one?
So like I literally just, while we're recording this, looked at my Goodreads to see how long it took me to read both books. It took me like 6 days to read Cross the Line, and I read Ride With Me in 3.
I think mine was around 3 or 4. It was so enthralling. I was like, I don't want to put this down.
I was absolutely hooked. I also, like Chelsea, I had a really hard time trying to envision anybody from the grid as like the male main characters, And like I like actually actively tried. It was like, ooh, who could be Dave? Who could be Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
And like none of them fit. Like, even though I have seen some people online who have like kind of tried to say that Thomas is based on George, nothing
Mm.
about Thomas gives me George Russell. Like, nothing. The math just doesn't math for me on that. But I really like that both of the male main characters are just like so distinctly individual.
I
Like,
mean, I could
it's
definitely
just
see
really
why
nice.
someone would want to say it's George just because he's British, but like that doesn't make it George. Because I agree
Yeah.
with you. I don't see any like comparable qualities, even in like the characters talking.
No. No. I'm like, even if you're just going off of the fact that he's British, like, you could friggin' say he was Lando.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm like, if you're going for just a British driver, you've got, like,
Few
current and
options.
past drivers who could work. You could friggin' say it was Jensen Button. Love you, JP.
I get that.
Like, I'm like, if you're gonna go British drivers, there are a lot of other options. But I tried really hard to, like, fan cast the female characters. Because I don't know what it was, but there was something for me in my head, at least, that like when I was envisioning Willow, I was kind of envisioning a version of like Naomi Schiff from Sky Sports. If you know what Naomi looks like, you'll kind of understand why. I feel like they're kind of similar. I could not picture anybody for like Stella. Like, I don't know what it was, but like I kept trying to like envision a face, or like if there's anybody like in the F1 world that I could picture, and I just like can't think of anybody for Stella.
You know what's so funny? And shout out to our girl because I'm definitely just watching too much Love Island right now. But I imagine Willow to me looks a lot like Chelly, and I imagine that Stella would be a lot like Janae from last season. That's who I envision.
Leanne, we love
At
you.
least
We
Chelly's
miss you.
face. For some reason,
Yeah.
Chelly's face really matches to me what I imagine Willow would look like.
Okay. But yeah, I think so. I think the thing for me that made me think, oh, Naomi tends to wear her hair like natural curly out a lot more,
Yeah,
and Willow like has like always wears her hair out. So
yeah.
I'm just like, ooh, who? Like, it was just for some reason like the first face that came into my brain, which was so weird. But I cannot picture anybody in any facet of motorsport, current or past driver, as like either Dave or Thomas. I they're just so distinctly themselves.
No, I think like this book, between the characters, the plots, and like the romances that was happening, I would have to give it like a 5 out of 5, which is wild because I usually don't like to give book 5 out of 5. I feel like that's setting too much expectation. But it was just so well written. Like I cannot wait for the third book, Crash Into You, that's coming out. I think either next year, if I'm not wrong. I know we ramble a lot, like on these episodes when we talk about books, but there's so many good characters within the stories that you like are so invested into how their storyline's going to end. Even Daphne. Even
Yeah,
Daphne. I was like, I want to see how this is gonna end because like there's a weird dynamic between cousins to have.
yeah.
It's so what's the word? Captivating? Yeah. Like
Hmm.
you want to finish the story. Definitely one of my favorite F1 romances now. Like shout out to every book we've read. Everything we've read has actually been extremely entertaining. But this one I was like mouth drop.
I am 120% right there with Chelsea. I'm also somebody that like, for me to give a book a 5 is really, 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 really hard. The highest most books get out of me is like a 4. And both of these for me were 5 out of 5s. I need book 3 like friggin' yesterday. I honestly, I even am actually going to be recommending both of these books to my friends who just love to read. Neither of them are F1 fans, but I think that they would both just love these books. They're so well written and they're just so cute. Like, They're fantastic. I actually think I may even be letting my sister borrow my copy of Cross the Line so she can read it. But I need her to finish Fourth Wing first. I feel like of all of the books that we have read so far for book club, if I have to like rank stuff, I feel like these are tied for like my top spot. Like, I don't even think I could say one is in the first place and the other is in second. Like, they're like really neck and neck. I truly don't know if I could pick. Honestly, I think my answer would probably depend on like the day you asked me. Like, you could ask me multiple times and I probably would change it every time because they're both so good that I can't just pick one. Like, Simone absolutely hit it out of the park with both of these books. They're just a fantastic read. Beach read, pool read, just you need to disassociate into a cute little romance. Like, it's just like a fantastic, they're both fantastic books for whatever your reading need. And to close out the episode, we have a moment of the weekend. And that is the fact that PGP Book Club is alive and thriving, y'all. We have a ton of fun stuff coming your way, so please keep your eyes peeled. And that's a wrap on this chapter of the PGP Book Club. We had an absolute blast swooning, sighing, and maybe even blushing a little over Cross the Line and Ride With Me by Simone Soltani. Honestly, who knew race car drivers could be this emotionally available? If you've read either book or both, slide into our DMs or tag us with your hot takes. We are always down to gush about a good F1 romance. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Paddock Girls Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss our next episode. We will be back in full race mode with our Austrian Grand Prix recap. Will the Red Bull Ring deliver more chaos? Who's racking up more penalties? The drivers or the stewards? We will be breaking it all down as always. Until then, keep your engines running and your TBR stacked. Bye.
Goodbye.